So, we have a great lineup for you guys, so we're just going to get the fuck into it. Sound good? Our first reader tonight is Molly Sanchez. When the end times come, Molly Sanchez will be ready with snacks. Her closets and cabinets will be stuffed to the brim with shelf-stable delights, moon cheese, Twinkies, Cheez-Its, Oreos, that she will share with the deserving, which, according to Molly's sense of justice, will be all those smart enough not to have denigrated the Kardashians and humble enough to laugh at themselves. The end times will crush the humanity from most of us, but not from Molly, who will remain as she is now, kind and warm, talented and hilarious. Please welcome Molly Sanchez.
That is so sweet. Thank you. Hi, this is such a daunting thing to do because I love you, Meg, and I love your works like too much. So this was a big ask. And then to on top of it also go first.
I believe in you.
Thanks, bud. Thank you. That's my mom, everybody. Give it up for my mom. And that intro is pretty funny, Maggie, because I tried to think about how I would fit in the dystopia that is the Nowhere series. And so I kind of wrote this sort of thinking of that. So this story takes place a few weeks before the events of the Book of Edda. Eddie could hear them before he saw them. At first he thought the loud, abrasive chattering was from a bird. He imagined one of those party-colored exotic birds, holdovers from ancient zoos, that had mated with pigeons or gulls to have obnoxious, chattering, purple-gray offspring that screamed and shit everywhere. But no, it was a woman. Coming up the forest path towards him was a tiny white-haired man and a tall woman being led by a leash. Actually, from Eddie's vantage point, crouching in the bush, it was sort of hard to discern who was leading whom. The woman chattered and strode confidently, and the man sort of popped along feebly behind her. As they got closer, Eddie could make out words. Anyway, like I was saying, why do they call it Estiel? More like, is Steal your girl, am I right, old man? As the woman shrieked and cackled at her own joke, it occurred to Eddie that he knew her. Tapping the gun in his waistband to make sure it was still there, Eddie emerged from the bush in front of the travelers. Madison? Oh, hey, it's Eddie. My name is Eddie. I am a man person. I'm not a sci-fi writer, I don't know. Eddie laser focused his eyes on Madison's, praying that she would understand quickly enough to not blow his cover. Her eyes lit up. Yes, your name is Eddie, and I have a gun! The old man who was with her jumped in surprise. You have a gun? Madison sighed exasperatedly. No, old man, it's improv. It's improv. Eddie knew her all right. Madison was a former resident of Nowhere, daughter of Clea, a midwife. Madison had always been a sweet girl, just different. Ever since the day she was born, she was distinctly wiggly, Eddie's mother had said. Eddie always assumed this was her euphemism for kind of an asshole sometimes. It was Madison who taught the scribes how to draw lewd drawings in the margins of their texts in white ink. Madison who had organized the one and only use of the midwives' wooden bellies as sleds. And Madison who had ended an otherwise promising midwifery training by pretending to pull a license plate from a vagina during a routine exam. Despite this, Eddie liked her, but she was a real weird bird. It all changed for Madison one day when a raiding company had come home with a trunk of books they'd found in an old basement somewhere. After a preliminary search of the trunk, they'd found nothing particularly useful inside. Still, a good trunk is a good trunk, so they dumped the contents into a heap and went on their way. But in that heap, Madison had found books, wondrous books. The Prehistory of the Far Side by Gary Larson. Al Jaffe's Snappy Answers to Stupid Questions. And Del Close's The Art of Comedy. And a whoopee cushion, gray with age, but still functional. Eddie remembered watching her as she hoarded these treasures away with a glint in her eyes that said, "This is the start of something." So how had the same glinty girl ended up at the end of a leash? I'm here to rescue you, Eddie said, cocking his shaved head to the side. Ah, thanks, Eddie Schmetty, but this old man and me, we're on a road trip. We're road buddies! The man sputtered to attention and tugged on the leash. His arms were so spindly, and the height discrepancy between him and his charge was so enormous that he barely caused her neck to move. "For the last time, women, we're not road buddies, you're my slave." The man had a wheezy, feeble voice. It was like being scolded by a bread crust. I don't know how you sci-fi writers do it. He said, "I am Milton, the great and terrible slaver of the open road." Madison picked the old man up, much like you'd handle an ancient house cat, and kissed him sloppily on the forehead. "Isn't he cute? I found him just outside of town." The man struggled to get loose of her grip. "No, I captured you outside of town with my cunning and know-how." "Not to change the subject, but you should see this one's tiny little penis," Madison said to no one in particular. "It's so cute, it's like a peanut that's shy." She gave Milton an affectionate noogie. "Anyway, I was camping by the side of the road, just minding my own business one day, and boom! This little guy just comes popping out of the woods, naked as the day he was born, schwanz waving in the wind." Now, I'm not body shaming anyone, I swear, but it looked like a thumb wearing a turtleneck. You know, one of those wet, hairy turtlenecks. Anywho, he pops out and he screams, "You're my slave now!" And well, gosh darn it, he was so cute. And I said, "Okay, old man, I'm your slave." And we've been together ever since. Milton, the great and powerful slaver of the open road, was now pouting on a rock nearby, not making eye contact. And every so often tugging half-heartedly at the leash. Eddie raised his eyebrows in disbelief. "Okay, well then what's with the leash then?" Madison picked at the collar at her neck distractedly. "Oh, I don't know, it makes him feel better. And it helps me make sure he doesn't wander into the river again." "I wasn't wandering, wench, I was barehanded fishing," he shrieked. "Fishing, falling, what's the difference? Long story short, he wanted a slave and I needed a pet, so it's a win-win. Plus, I finally have someone to try my bits on." Eddie remembered Madison's propensity towards bits. After smuggling the contents of this trunk, she had gone through several phases trying out what she'd learned. First, there was her improv phase. She attempted to organize a group of friends, mostly women, because it was widely acknowledged, even in nowhere, that men, just didn't have the genetic propensity towards humor. And to say that this endeavor went poorly was like saying the Lion of Estill was great with kids. Eddie did a whole body cringe remembering Madison asking the crowd for an occupation suggestions and trying to build unique and separate scenes on the repeated singular suggestion of midwife. Then came her stand-up phase, which meant she was constantly trying to wedge bits into conversation. "Book of the Unknown? more like it's unknown how that lady got a book deal, am I right? I kid, it's a rich oral tradition. Most people found her at best annoying and at worst outright blasphemous. Except when she started on the whole men be talking jokes. Those went over pretty well because men do be talking. So when I left nowhere a few months ago, I decided to take the old act on the road. See if everyone in this world is as much of a grumpy Gus as you guys were. Eddie resisted the urge to remind her how easy it was to be a grumpy Gus when you lived in constant fear of rape, famine, disease, and death by childbirth. We all thought you were on a suicide mission, Madison. You left that note about killing and crushing. The old man's eyes widened at these words, and he tightened his grip on the ineffectual leash. Madison shook her head with desperation. What I said was I'm off to kill some crowds and crush all over the country and totally name the state of post-apocalyptic comedy. She rolled her eyes. Damn, Eddie, you're such a Philistine. And I don't even know what a Philistine is, but I assume it means basic ass biatch. The old man shuddered at the sound. I don't know how she makes that sound with her mouth. But I have not been able to stop her. He looked up at Eddie plaintively. She's not a very good slave. Then, as if suddenly remembering something, the old man brightened. Say, I don't suppose you'd like to trade something for her. I am the great and fierce Milton of the open road, but I'll give you a good price. Oh, shut up, old man. You can't sell me, we're road buddies. Madison screeched before playfully punching him in the shoulder. Since the great and terrible Milton was only about 4 feet tall, this knocked him to the ground, causing Madison to wobble a little on the end of her leash. Okay, gang, he wants to be on the floor. That's great. We'll do a warm-up improv game. She gestured animatedly towards Eddie. Come on, grumpy McCrossdresser, let's play zip zap zap! As Madison started to force the old man to clap with her, Eddie scratched his shaved head. On the one hand, it was his sworn duty to save every woman he found in bondage. On the other hand... No, old man, you can't zap a zip! Come on, this is basic stuff! We practiced! Back to the writings of the unknown. How sometimes even she had decided it was kinder to give someone the means to end their life rather than prolong their suffering. Yes, and me, old man! Yes, and me! Yes, and me! Eddie knew what he had to do. He went up to the old man, who was currently being jostled by Madison starting a game of I'm a tree on him, and slipped a pill into his dirty jeans back pocket. No trade, old man. Sorry. Eat this. It'll make you a better improviser. I mean, slave master. Eddie walked away, Madison's screams of tough crowd echoing in his ears. As he walked, he hoped this was the hardest moral dilemma about slavery he would ever have to face.
Molly, where can people find you and more of your work online?
I'm on Twitter at Serious Molly. And I have a podcast with my friend Kelly called Read All Over a Handmaid's Tale Recap. Those are where you can find me. And tomorrow night, thank you, #1 sleepyhead. Tomorrow night, I'm hosting a show called Sleepover with Sam and Molly, which is a bi-monthly variety show that's sleepover themed that I do every month at Piano Fight. So you can come to that. Tomorrow's our 1-year anniversary show. Joe Waddington's going to be on it. It's going to be excellent. He's going to be telling a scary story. We're going to do Truth or Dare. It's going to be fantastic. So sleep over, Sam and Molly. Thank you.